Hello everybody and welcome to this walkthrough of the text guides with me and Mr. RGTV. Hey buddy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, man?
I'm doing fine. It's starting to get a little bit cooler here in Sweden. I'm not, I complain when it's cold, I complain when it's warm, but I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty nice when I'm not just so sweaty all the time.
Well, everyone, they make fun of America a lot for not knowing the geographic, which I think is horse poo-poo. But for those of you out there who don't know where Sweden is, if you watch Game of Thrones, Tommy's basically a White Walker.
Okay.
In comparison. He lives on the other side of the wall. It's very, very north. Viking.
And I have never watched a single episode of the Game of Thrones. I might need to start somewhere, but
Definitely.
that's for a different time. We are going to go over the text guide for the Great Outdoors Tournament. We're gonna have a mix of the Eagle Peak and the Greenock Point. And before we start, you can find all the content for the Great Outdoors on the website golf-tommy.com. Link you have in the video description down below. Everything at one place makes it easier. Also, for those of you that can't get enough of text guides, then you should sign up for the updated text guides that will be out on Tuesday. It gives you pinpointed information on how to take every shot in the game based on, not in the game, but in the tournament, based on the tournament win that we are having. And for this version, I'm going to add more for yardage notes. I'm going to start to add for win per rain table for the par 3s. So there will be a lot, and I do that for every division, so even if you're playing rookie or if you play master, it doesn't really matter. So, and I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna talk about something else then. And hole number 1, RJ, I think it's time to start. And I want to hear, how do we play that one from front tee?
Okay, from the front tee, you see two sets of lines on your screen in front of you. Both of them are viable for rookie. The way that I'm going to cover the most is going to be the white line, just because of fear. The black line is not that hard, but it is very intimidating. So basically, if you go with the white line, I would say if you're lucky enough to have a big topper, that might be the club that you might want to choose. But an extra mile works great as well. Throw a Titan in there, and you just go with full topspin, full overpower. If you do have a wind that's blowing to the right side, I would probably go full left curl and about at least a quarter to a half spin to the left. You don't want to get too close to those trees in case you don't get far enough, because you won't be able to reach the green. However, you could get yourself a short iron shot with the left spin, getting up high enough and also not going into the rough up there. Sure, if you go in the rough, you can still get to the green with your razor or whatever type of rough iron that you have, but you have a much higher probability of sinking the shot with one of your regular clubs. You could use the black line as well, which I don't actually have the coordinates for, but there is it would almost be like a path through there. And I do know that Tommy will probably cover this a little better, but you only want to use about 2 topspin or so, because the way the fairway is, it's kind of like a hill going up where that third black line is. So it'll funnel your ball away from the rough, but if you put too much topspin on it, you'll go right through it and up into the rough, and then you would have an even shorter shot taking the black line. 20% on the drive is what I got in backbone for your second shot club taking the white line.
Yes, and I'm gonna build on the thing that RJ already started with, and it's for pro and expert, but also for master. We have basically one rule here. If we do have headwind, we don't play with the white line, because then the headwind will make us obviously go shorter, and then we do risk having the trees in our face, and we will have to curl around the trees or shoot through the trees to even have a shot towards the pin. And that's just so unnecessary. But if we do have tailwind, then the white line is the line to go with all the time. And that goes even when you do have like a more angled type of tailwind, like a tailwind crosswind type of wind, then you're still gonna go for the white line. Power 3 ball, max overpower, straight down the right side there. If we do have a headwind or we do have a crosswind, we bounce on the fairway according to the black line, then the second bounce will be in the rough. and then to roll out on the fairway. We do want to use as much topspin and side spin to the left possible with that shot, because we do want the ball to bounce in the rough and kick more out to the left. Because if we do just make a normal shot without the side spin to the left, we will get the ball to just roll straight out, and then we're gonna have trees in our face there as well. There is, you know, no matter if you play black line or white line, you're going to have an approach with long iron or the short iron, depending on how far you will make with your driver. Still a good chance to dial it in. The last thing I want to say about this one, and that speaks for expert and for master division players, because the wind is higher in those divisions than it is in pro and expert, and that is that there is like an uphill position on the fairway just beneath the two bunkers in the center, where if we do have a straight tailwind or a close to a straight tailwind, we can actually bounce the ball there to have the second bounce where the third black marker is, and then to bounce it to the green. You can actually watch me take that shot in the last tournament we had this hole, because I actually made it to green. Was a sick shot, and something that is not possible to do if not having tailwind. But normally we lay up, we shoot from distance. Yes, hole number 2, par 3, and here we do have a lot of elevation, right?
30% of it, and that's so fun. I feel so funny saying that because I get my percentages from you, so don't give me credit. Anyway, rookies, backbone. We get it in Tour 2. You know, if you've been playing for a little bit, long enough to be in tournaments, it should be decently upgraded. A Marlin will be fine. Basically, I like aiming right at the pin. And let's see, yeah, aim right at the pin, land near the bottom of the fairway with about 1.5 topspin for headwind. And then if there's tailwind, you know, you're going to make an adjustment. If there's side wind, because the wind is so small and rookie, the adjustments are going to be so minuscule. Just dial it in watching Tommy's what is that, the opening round, which he does at 3 a.m. So for us in Americana, you know, as soon as we wake up, it'll be there for us.
Yes, it will. Pro and expert and in master, we're going to play the rough bump, basically with whatever type of wind. And the rough bump is the white line here explained, and we're going to use an accurate club, like it's going to be the sniper for pro and expert, and it's going to be the quarterback most likely for master, and or like the rock for master as well, for those of you using that instead of a quarterback. So accuracy, ball guideline, we aim for the pin, and then we're going to dial it in. It would be preferred, especially in master division, to use a more wind resistant ball like wind 4, wind 5, to help yourself so you're not having like a 12-13 mile per hour trying to dial that rough bump in. Definitely, in my opinion, the best possibility for us to make an hole-in-one is to go by the rough bump, as I feel that the green is a little bit too bumpy to use the black line, especially from pro, expert, and master T. 30%, as RJ already said, that's very important, otherwise you're not gonna make the hole-in-one, at least that much we can say. Hole number 3, we come to the green point. I enjoy green point, but I guess it's because I played them thousands of times on Tour 12. So, like, how do we attack this one from front tee?
You know, I love Greenock Point myself, and it's funny because I made a video and I asked people to put what they liked, and a lot of people said they didn't. And this hole is just a prime example. This hole, nobody thinks of this hole as meh. Either you love it or you hate it. And me and Tommy, we're going to teach you how to love it, because there is a definite way to play this hole where you can avoid the sand and you can avoid the trees. And what that is with a 20% elevation and your extra mile, you can bring a Quasar, you could bring a Katana or a Kingmaker. Whichever club you bring is going to make your second shot much more easier. Now, of course, if there is a headwind, I would take Quasar out of the equation. You're going to want to go with about 4 to 5 topspin, full right spin, and about half a ball of right curl. And also, you don't want to hit at the very top because of the deceiving elevation, maybe it is. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people, they land that first bounce in the rough. And so you'll notice his black square is about halfway basically halfway in that little green pattern. Look for that first box that he has there. That's the perfect landing position with the topspin that I just said. And that'll put you next to the sand, but not to the point where you're too close to the sand, and not to the point where, as you see the black line going past those trees, where you'll have to worry about it. If you put more topspin on, you're going to have to put some left curl on to get past the second set of trees, which just sucks, because if anything, you would need right curl. But don't use right curl, because the curl is going to take the trajectory of your ball into those trees. I've done that before.
Me too.
I don't recommend it. So what you want is this, again, the katana and the kingmaker, depending on which balls you have in your arsenal, are going to give you a full 3 side spin, which is not more than enough, but which is enough for you to not need the curl, but still come on at a better line to the pin. Do not expect the albatross. Be happy with an eagle. Be happy with a putt. And that's what I got for hole 3. Oh, and I just also want to say, with that full right spin, you might need to add a little bit of top spin. You do not want to clip the rough, because that is not a guaranteed chip in if you don't make the fairway. And if it's even possible, I've never ended up there, that's a very long putt if you just barely make it on the putting green.
Yeah, to just say that if you make it to the green, the ball will fall down as it slows downhill on the green. So it will fall down just that you get it to green. And that's what we're gonna do. We're not going to go for the albatross here. You know, there will be some that gets there, and you know, playing it over and over and over again. In the end, you're gonna maybe get close, but it's not here that we're gonna win the tournament. Here we can lose the tournament, because we maybe lose the eagle and make a birdie. For second tee, in any type of wind, we are going to play on the left side. Have in mind that if you do have a headwind, then it would be suggested to play with a power 4 ball. Like now I'm talking straight headwind, because and also need to go with max overpower. Use 4 to 6 bars of topspin depending on the wind angle, combined with as much side spin to the right possible. And as you can see, the second black marker is just above the bunkers that we do have left and to the right in terms of distance. The reason we don't want to go too far is exactly that what RJ was into as well, is that we do not want to have the trees in play. We do not want to have to curl around the trees, or have our adjustment halfway through being done, being cut off by the tree, and then accidentally we hit the tree and you just make a very short one instead. So it's very important that you're not gaining that much distance. So for those of you playing with higher level clubs that gives you like Apocalypse 6, Apocalypse 7, you cannot use that amount of topspin, especially if you're having like a crosswind or a tailwind. Then you will roll too far, and then you will make it harder for yourself than it should be. Power 3 ball is a must in my opinion. I said power 4 ball before, just in headwind, but power 3 ball is an absolute must. For Master Division players, I wouldn't be against power 4 ball, but power 3 ball will still suit you well. Second shot, no elevation, as we do have the 20% for the drive. No elevation for the second shot, we bounce it over towards the green. If we do have a headwind, use around 2 to 3 bars of topspin, let the ball to get to the green. If you have a crosswind or tailwind, you can go for the pin, because the wind is going to help you clear the rough. But again, RJ said it so well, don't play so tight so you're clipping the rough and have a wedge. In my book, that is one of the tougher wedges that we do have in the game, because you have no ball guideline to rely on, even with a wedge with a very good ball guideline, and it's so much downhill that it's very hard to get the adjustment correct. So a lot of things to say about hole number 3, and I would actually say the last thing, choose a club, the second shot, that if we do have crosswind or a headwind from tee, then it's the Cataclysm or the Big Dog as the second club. Otherwise, you will be fine with the Sniper. I wanted to add that as well. Hole number 4, RJ. This one we have a lot of lines.
Yes, we do.
Which one to take from front tee?
You know, I've never taken the purple line, but then again, I've never shot from the third tee. So I like the black line or the white line. But for rookies, I'm recommending the black line. 10%, and I don't even have a club because I'm trying to think. There's people that are brand new rookies. This could be their first tournament, and then there's people who are ready to go into pro. So I just have an accurate wood with at least 2 topspin, and I really like the black line. We're going to jump over the rough and the sand, and we want to get control of this ball. We want it to stop or to sit when we need it to sit. So basically, a quasar or a katana, both will work fine. I don't think you need anything more than a quasar. Full right spin, well, wait a second. Yeah, full right spin, 1 to 2 top spin, 25% right curl should get you right by where you need to be. I don't know why I have top spin on there twice.
And I must say here, and now I need your help that you're watching this to make a comment down below. This line is not purple. This line is blue.
That's purple.
No, I've never in my life that it. So let me know what you see. This is, in my book, 100% blue. And I know we have been coming into those situations where RJ think blue is red or something like that. So
is this blue or purple?
This is blue. That's blue.
This is blue.
Yeah.
Right. This does not match that.
Completely, 100%. But let me know in the comments below so I can have some fun with RJ the next time or something. Second tee, we are going to play with a rough bump here many of the times. If we're not having an absolute straight tailwind, then we're going to play the rough bump according to the white line. Use a ball with side spin 3, katana or a kingmaker, so you can kick that ball into the left so you don't have to aim as close to the bunker there at the center. Use around 2 to 3 bars of backspin depending on the direction of the wind. If we do have a straight tailwind, then the black line would be preferred, using a sniper, max side spin to the right, and go with around all from, depending on literally where you're aiming, like 1 bar of backspin to 1 bar of topspin basically. When you play from front tee, we are going to play with either the rough bump according to the white line, if we do have a tailwind or a straight crosswind. But if we do have like any other type of wind, I would suggest that you use a club with backspin, playing according to the blue line. And then you can use the backspin, getting and approaching the pin easily. There is a way according to the black line as well, and who knows, we might come into the conclusion that would be the better line. So in Master, for those of you who've been playing Tour 12, know that there is several ways to playing this hole with a good result. 10% extra, play with a ball with wind resistance. Yes!
I never do this, but I need to correct you. You gave some bad information there. Use the purple line. There's no blue line. Use the purple line, not the blue one. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. I guess in the end, we need your help with that to settle that once and for all. It's almost that I want to make a poll about that here to see when I'm right. So hole number 5, and here we don't have a blue line. We do have a yellow, white, and black. So how do we approach this one from front tee?
Okay, this is a fun one. Again, intimidating if you haven't played it before, especially with all the traffic we see with the different lines. But every line has a very good purpose. All the lines need to be there, otherwise it would be a disservice to you. I'm going to basically take it according to there being no tailwind. So basically, I'm covering 75% of the different ways you can play this. And even if there is a slight tailwind, I believe you could still take the gold line. No, I'm just kidding. The yellow line. And in doing so, I would say bring your extra mile. A quasar should be fine in rookie. You're only going to want to go with about 2 top spin. But I would also go with full left spin. I have play to the left side, which is obviously the yellow line. We want to bounce in front of the bushes on the fairway, and we want in the sand, and we want to roll up, but we don't want to roll up too far. That's why we're only going with 2 top spin. I could have sworn my second shot was with a thorn, but I trust Tommy. I don't trust his eyes, but I trust his memory better than mine. So I have bring your backbone for your second shot. And you're going to want to use some amount of backspin because this might be the most uneven green on all holes that I've ever seen. So you're going to want to get control. Again, I do not see this as an albatross hole, mostly because we don't have a smooth putting surface. Just get it close to the flag. Don't mess up and have your ball roll into a rough or the sand. Just get it as close as you can to the pin. You don't want a long putt. Make it easy. Take your eagle. Move on.
I think that the biggest reason why we are not going to make an albatross here is because it's a par 4. But otherwise, I do. Sorry, just... Get your birdie.
Get your birdie.
I'm sorry. We're having fun, guys. Okay. Yes, for pro and expert tee and master tee, it depends obviously of what type of wind that we're gonna have. If we do have a tailwind, then we're going to play either according to the white line or we're actually gonna follow the black line, but with a little twist than what it shows here on the screen. So the plan is, though, in whatever line you're using, is to get ourselves over to where the second white marker is. Even if you follow the black line and you bounce on that fairway over the rough, or you're bouncing on the white line on the side of the bunker over the rough there. We do want to gain as much distance as possible, because then when we're getting very close towards the rough there on top, we have a short iron position there, or even a wedge that will make it a great possibility to actually make an eagle. That shot, the second shot there, being very close to rough, is 20% uphill. So you need to subtract that from your adjustment, or like from the wind, and then make your adjustments so you are going to be accurate. But if we're not having that tailwind, we're having a crosswind or a headwind, then I would suggest that you follow the black line. You follow the black line to get you safely over there. Then you have a wood club to bounce over the rough and the sand there by the green. But not giving us tailwind means that the eagle chance drops to maybe like 0.1% chance, in my opinion, because as RJ said, the green is so weird. Like it is, and I agree with that. This is one of the weirdest green that we do have in the game, because it slopes in all directions. And then we do have the sand that is completely directly in line if we are there on the black line. Sure, the yellow line is there, but I feel having to almost go with max overpower in a crosswind and definitely not being able to reach in a headwind, then it's going to be tough to go according to the yellow line. So I would instead, if I'm not having a tailwind here and can go over, I will play this one as a birdie hole and just take it from what it is, and not trying to gamble making a bad shot and then risk the birdie. Elevation adjustment, if you play the dry no matter what line, but then it's 10% downhill. The second shot, if following the yellow and black line, is 0. If you're following the white line, second shot, as I explained before, is minus 20%. So it's uphill 20%. So you need to take that away from the wind before you make your adjustment. Hole number 6, we come to the second par 5, and here we only have 2 lines, but this one could really be tricky if you are not knowing how to play this one before you stand on the tee.
I see 2.5.
Yeah.
Do you not see 2.5?
I see.
There's a fork in the road. Or maybe 2.25.
That's true. Actually, I give up. I give up that one. I give you right there. I do.
I get it. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys. I know we don't need to make this video long arguing about lines in purple and blue. On this particular one, Tommy says, and I agree, 20%. I would go with an extra mile and a Titan with about 4 to 5 topspin with the black line. We want to hop over the rough, and we don't want to go too far to where we're going to end up in the rough after our bounce. We want to end up right where that second black line is. In some cases, you might need to use full overpower to make this. Although, wait a minute, I might be confusing that with expert and pro from the second tee. It's been a while since I played this one in rookie. So I'll leave that to Tommy to say whether we need to overpower this or not. Probably, if we got a headwind, you'd probably have to overpower it. But with a power 3 ball, I'm rambling. Anyway, yes, get your ball to the second black square. Once you do that, you will have trees in your face. Not in your face, but in the distance. Those trees are in play. However, as you can see, there is a rough bump here so we'll be able to avoid that, and I like that rough bump line. So with the rough bump, we're going to go with about 2 topspin, and there's also a 10% adjustment here, and hopefully we can get, let me check, yes, it's a par 5, the Albatross.
Yes, and yes, the drive here is going to be tricky. I've seen so many when I've been playing Tour 8 myself, because this hole is on Tour 8, the Eagle Peak, that so many players try to get over to that fairway, and you can just tell by the wind that there is no chance whatsoever that he or she will reach over there. So if we do in rookie, I would say in crosswind or in headwind, I would go max overpower, 50% when you do have a tailwind, I would say. When it comes to pro, when we come to pro and expert, we are not going to go with the black line if we're not having like tailwind or just a perfect straight crosswind. But with a perfect straight crosswind, we do need topspin that is minimum 6 bars, because we cannot clear the rough and the sand directly. Then we'll have to go with the double bounce. So that's the kind of the difference that is going to make. So with an XMI level 8, that's completely fine. But with an XMI level 7 and below, then you only have 4.5 bar. Then you either have to consider to play with a power 4 ball or a power 5 ball in that straight crosswind to try to get over there. And you know, that's not fun if we do have to spend those type of balls on this hole here. I would in crosswind go with max overpower. In tailwind, I wouldn't be going with max overpower, but we could be like 75% of overpower here. When it comes to headwind, then there is that's a no-no in my book. Then we're going to play according to the white line. Get yourself 4 to 6 bars of topspin, as much side spin to the right. Then we'll have to go with around half a ball of curl to the right. It could be even more if the wind is right to left crosswind, but around half a ball of curl is going to be the best there. So in the end, we are going to have to go with that, and then approach the pin. If we get over there according to the black line, then there is a rough bump, and using like 1.5 to 3 bars of topspin depending on the angle. Master, tailwind only, then we reach over to the left there, otherwise we follow the black line. 20%, then 10%, then we're gonna be fine. So it's and that's awesome, and we are going to progress and go to hole number 7, the last par 3. I'm gonna drop the ball over to you, RJ. How do we play hole number 7?
Hole number 7, backbone. Oh, okay. I'm like, I didn't understand that. Hole number 7, backbone, quasar, play aiming directly over the sand to the pin. 1 topspin for tailwind, 2 to 3 for headwind. Full right spin. As you'll see, your ball guide will be a little bit off to the left, but after the right spin, you'll be good. Pretty straightforward hole, 10%. Don't forget that adjustment, because I got a hole-in-one on every single one of these par 3s in the weekend on the last time I played the tournament.
Boom!
So yeah, not the same tournament, but you know, you got to pick from like 3 different tournaments to get your holes together for a video. I was able to find a hole-in-one on the weekend. So every one of these par 3s, which I don't think we've been able to save for a while, they are holeable. So that's what I got.
Yes, and I do agree with that. I think all the par 3s definitely invites us for making hole-in-ones. And yes, it was a long time ago we could actually say that. The last time it was definitely not like that, at least. For pro and expert, we're going to play with a long iron in crosswind, tailwind, and when we do have a minor headwind. I would suggest that you play with a power 3 ball with your long iron and go with the Goliath, so you get yourself the distance. Then you go with the side spin to the right, combined with around half a bar of backspin to 1.5 bar topspin depending on the angle, and then to bounce over the sand to go up towards the pin. If we do have a straight headwind or something like that from second tee, we play according to the white line, using club with backspin, preferably like a sniper level 9 or a guardian in a lower level, so we can bounce there and then up towards the pin. If well, not if. When we play from the third tee, we're going to just separate it as if we do have a tailwind or a crosswind, we play according to the black line with a wood club. If we do have a headwind, we play with a driver according to the white line. 10% extra. And as always, when you play in Master, it is preferred with a more wind-resistant ball, like a Wind 5 ball, to help yourself not having to adjust for like 12, 13, 14 miles per hour wind. Yes, hole number 8. This is kind of like a par 3, right?
It sure feels like it sometimes. You could definitely get on the green for a nice putt, but I've yet to get a hole-in-one on this one if it were par 3 or par 4. There is a 10% adjustment, which is very important. I have extra mile with minimum distance, but the reason I have extra mile with minimum distance is because I'm not sure how much topspin, how upgraded your quarterback is. If you have a higher level quarterback with, let's see, I would say probably about 5 topspin minimum, and obviously this will vary based on headwind, tailwind, or whatever, but right around 5 topspin, it's a more accurate club, and it'll also let you back up a little bit more in case you have to for a wind adjustment. This is a rough bump. I don't know if there's another word for it, because your first bounce is going to land right where that black box is, and that's not on the rough. But your second bounce needs to land on the rough. Now, when you make your first bounce, your ball's coming in at a certain speed, right? Well, when you're taking your second bounce, the ball obviously slowed down, and Playdemic did a great job with the physics of the ball. So you're going to want a little bit more topspin because it's so much easier to get your ball stuck on the second bounce than it is the first bounce. That's why I like to use full topspin, even if I was using a freaking big topper here, for which you can't, or horizon. If I was using a horizon here, I would still go full topspin, and I would just back up my landing point and make sure that that ball guide doesn't shoot past. Don't put any curl on this. For whatever reason, whenever I put curl on this, I end up, my second bounce doesn't end up where I need it to. I hit the second fairway and go in the sand, or I just completely miss. It's a straightforward shot. Just don't get confused. Remember, the second bounce, the first bounce, that would be the first. Okay, so first you bounce on the fairway, then when the ball bounces again, it's going to bounce on the rough and trickle towards the hole. That's the way I like to play it. Blah.
Yes, second tee, we play with a driver. That we do from the third tee as well. And I would prefer the quarterback or the rock here. If we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, gives you accuracy, gives you ball guideline, doesn't give you that much topspin. And that's why I say that we should use it in crosswind and in tailwind. In headwind, use the club that gives you at least, 5 bars of topspin. I would say 6 bars as well, as I do feel that we do need that topspin to be able to compensate for the compressed ball guideline. It's very important, and I think that's going to be my cue in this, that if you do play in headwind, the ball guideline is going to lie to you. That's the same in tailwind, because in headwind it's going to be compressed. So the first bounce to the second bounce is going to be shorter. It's going to compress itself together, and therefore you're going to go shorter than expected. Therefore you need to compensate by that by moving your ball guideline higher up, so you are going to bounce in the rough, but you might gonna have the second bounce aiming for bouncing on the fairway. I know it's tricky, but it's something that is very important on this one, and that's the same in tailwind, but the other way around. You have a longer bounce to compensate for, so then you need to back up, and instead of aiming in the center of the rough with your second bounce, you maybe aim in the beginning of the rough with your second bounce to make sure that you compensate for that. In Master, we're going to play the same type of way as we do in Pro and Expert, but also in Rookie. But if we do have tailwind in Master, but that is also in Expert especially, we will be able to use our higher level drivers using the backspin. Now I'm thinking about backspin that is at minimum 6 bars of backspin. Go according to the white line, curl yourself in towards the green. Sure, you take away the hole-in-one basically completely, because it's very tough to get the curl correct, but it should be a safe eagle all the time. This is a must to make an eagle from second and third tee, in my opinion, if you're gonna have something to do with the top 10. Hole number 9, we're gonna end up with the Eagle Peak. There's a lot of text on this one, but there is also a lot to talk about on this one. And And I'm very interested to hear which route or direction are you going to take, RJ, here?
Well, I personally am recommending the white line because that's the way I have always played. Although I did watch your video and I'm very intrigued by the black line as well. Um, but we're going to talk about the white line mostly here, and we're going to do our best to change the name of this course to Albatross Peak. Is Albatross a guarantee? Never. But whenever you have a rough bump on the pin, I just feel like it goes up at least 10 or 15%. And that's what we're going to have here. I have an extra mile with a Titan with full top spin and full right spin to try to stay away from the sand. But make sure you're also not too close to the rough there. We want to be right in the middle. And then on top of that, for our second shot, because I don't know what clubs you have, I got Big Dog rough bump. The reason why I got Big Dog in there is you need at least, I would say, 170-yard club that also has 3 top spin for the rough bump. So that eliminates the Viper. But if you do happen to have a club that will get you about 170 yards, when Tommy talks, he'll be able to tell you, correct you if we don't quite need that much. But definitely like the rough bump attempt. However, if you're not comfortable with the rough bump, you can always, use that fairway as he's showing. There's also 2 lines off of that second square. Now, you may be looking and be like, RJ, wait, those lines go through the trees. Well, the way this is set up, it's set up so perfectly that your ball arcs over the trees and then comes down to the rough bump. So the only way you're going to face problems with the trees is if you play too close to the rough on the right, and then those first couple trees might cause you some trouble as your ball's going up. But your ball is already mid-air and well above all those trees. You come down for the rough bump and hopefully get the Albatross. Definitely need an eagle on this hole.
Yes, eagle needs to be there, and we are going to choose the route once again, depending on what type of wind angle we're having playing from the second and the third tee. If we do have crosswind or any form of tailwind, we're going to play according to the white line every single time. For those of you having like Apocalypse 5 plus or maybe Thor's Hammer 5 plus, could even be okay with playing white line even with a minor headwind and crosswind together, because you're still gonna have the topspin that give you the distance. But like for an example, on X mile level 7 or below, then it's a no-go if you do have some form of headwind, because you won't be able to reach enough. You do need to reach enough distance to be able to get to the rough bump, or let's say like this, to be able to take the trees out of play. Otherwise, you're going to get the trees in play and you're going to have a problem when it comes to approaching the pin. You can choose the rough bump. You can choose to play with a guardian at the back of the green if you reach that far, and to use a backspin shot at the back end of the green to let it fall back down. That comes from an idea I actually got from an opponent that I played against, a guest account I think it was, doesn't really matter who it was otherwise, but when the last time we had this one in the Masters tournament. But if we do have a headwind, or I would say also a crosswind in Master, then we're gonna have to play according to the black line. Then there is 2 ways to approach the fairway on the right. That is on if you use the rough bump, use a lot of topspin to roll out on the fairway. It gives you more control because it's a very skinny fairway, or like a thin fairway, or you bounce on the fairway to bounce as far up as possible. There is very important that you do play with a Big Dog or a Cataclysm, as if we choose in the right side, it's going to be because we do have a bad wind, and then we do need that extra distance for the second shot. Elevation adjustment going for the right is 10% extra. Going on the left, it's 0. And if you do approach the pin, you are going to approach the pin, it's 10% extra for both shots when you approach the pin. Power 3, Power 4 ball, I think is going to be used here. And I do think in the end that we do need to, we do really need to play well here, especially with the drive, to take the right decision to get the ball to where we want. So, there we have it. And we do have it with the 9 holes, a mix of the Eagle Peak and the Green Oak Point. Just to finish it up here, RJ, what do you think will be the score to have of the 9 holes?
Oh man, the scores are always kind of tough to predict, but I do think it is going to be on the higher scoring side. Looking at hole eight, definitely eagleable. With all the hole in ones, if I can do it, you can definitely do it, and I don't mean you up there. I mean you watching. So yeah, God, I could see minus 15 or so in the qualifying round, which would then obviously people are going to be getting it dialed in and everything. Probably minus 32 ish to take first place. Do you think that's too high or too
No,
low?
I think that's realistic to say. I would say in pro and in rookie, I think it's going to be a little bit, around the minus 30, 28, 30. But we are used to people getting dialed in the end. In expert or in master, I do absolutely believe that we will have to get to 30, 33, something like that, to be able to win. And that's tough, Just getting to the weekend round this time around in tournaments in Golf Clash is super tough. So see that as an achievement if you do get there. I'm talking not to you, RJ. I'm talking to everyone, obviously. And once again, if you do want to get in contact with me in any form, you can get that through our website, golfclashtommy.com, and there you can find all the content for the Great Outdoors tournament that starts already in 9.5 hours. I will be streaming, not every day, but many of the days I will stream all days except I think I'm not gonna stream Wednesday and Saturday. I think. How does your schedule look like?
Yeah, I usually like to take Wednesday off just because I don't like to use that very last day. I just feel the pressure, so it's nice to qualify one of my accounts on Monday. Monday's always a late stream because I go to the doctor. Tuesday and all the other days that I stream will be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, USA. No,
No.
daylight time. Eastern daylight, not standard.
Okay, yeah, something at least.
Yeah.
You who knows. Otherwise, Google. That's what I do. So thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe to both our channels. It's RJ and also here on Golf Clash Tommy YouTube channel. So RJ, I'll leave it to you. How do we end it?
You want me to say happy stroking, but I would love for people in the chat to use your favorite Game of Thrones quote and say, "You know nothing, Golf Clash Tommy. The line is purple."
Oh my god, line is blue. Comment in the section below. I want to hear blue, 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 blue. Bye, everybody.
Happy stroking.